Hey, so before this video begins, I want to make something clear. I'm not shitting on Chrono Odyssey in the hopes that the game dies, or that something bad happens to it, or that it fails as a game. I'm currently shitting on the game because I see good components that are just not living up to their full potential. Kind of the same thing that we saw from New World. I think the only correct thing that we can currently do for Chrono Odyssey is shit on it as much as possible in the hopes that the devs listen and fix all the mistakes that we're currently seeing in the game. There are good things about Chrono Odyssey. I like the boss designs, I like the world, I like the art style, I like the dungeons, I like the instancing. Some of the quests are even interesting when they make your character interact with the world around them. But this is not the point in time where the devs need to be hearing good feedback. This is the point in time that if Cacao Games is listening, they need to be hearing the biggest, harshest criticisms they can so that Chrono Odyssey stands a chance of being a good game in the future. Now, I know this is kind of counterintuitive to what you'd regularly expect out of someone who plays MMOs constantly, like it's a mental illness, but I actually want this game to succeed. I see the potential for this game to be something greater than what it currently is. And for that to happen, I think Chrono Odyssey needs to be put back in the oven for like maybe 2 to 3 years. But in the current state that it's in, unless that build that the CEO was talking about, that's supposed to be this explosive, world-altering, gameplay-defining and changing of everything update, if that's not an actual thing, then I don't think this game currently stands a chance if it releases in a state that's anywhere close to what it currently is. But let me not waste any more of your time. These are my criticisms of Chrono Odyssey, and I hope to God that somewhere out there there's a dev listening. Enjoy. I'm going to show you all my notes that I made on Chrono Odyssey while playing the game. Before we get into this, so that I'm not accused of just copy-pasting someone's points when I actually do a talking head video on the second channel, talking about why I think Chrono Odyssey needs to be put in the oven for another 3 to 4 years. Chrono Odyssey game controls are not responsive enough for what the bosses demand of you, right? The problem with Chrono Odyssey is if you fought any of the bosses, if you played the game, if you played the beta, your character controls like a fucking bar of soap on smooth in an ice rink, right? You have no control, and the bosses are like fucking ADHD Giga Chad gods who know exactly where you are at all points in time with unavoidable techniques, right? Unless you can stagger bosses in game, you're fucked. Your character gets animation locked way more than you think. Your character's not responsive enough, your game controls are not responsive enough, there's like a weird input latency, and it's not, I tested this, it's not the ping. It's not just the ping. There's a weird input latency between when you hit a button and when an ability goes off, and I know this because I watched a bunch of other streams of people playing Chrono Odyssey and bitching about how something feels weird when you use your abilities and it doesn't feel like it's working correctly. I thought you liked Chrono Odyssey when you last quit stream. I liked components of it, Ashura. But the important thing is to bitch about the complaints. There are components about Chrono Odyssey that I do like, particularly the fucking crossbows. Those were amazing. But that doesn't mean it's a good game, right? This is why I continue to play it, because it gives me a better idea. I got to level 15. The questing is so lackluster. The questing is not, I didn't put this down, but you're right, Adax. The questing is lackluster. The questing tooltips are bad. It doesn't tell you the locations of thing. The second movement quest isn't even marked on the fucking map. It doesn't tell you where to go for certain things. It doesn't tell you how to do certain things. The game doesn't guide you. The game, you know what I realized after defeating that first boss? I realized this the next day when I woke up. I was like, that first boss that you beat, the 1000-fold piercer, you're not supposed to beat that boss. The game is trying to tell you, this boss is too difficult for you right now. You need to leave and come back later. But the game gives you no indications that you're supposed to do that. The game just thinks, oh, okay, the person's going to do that. And that's a sign of bad game design, because it's not telling you you can actually leave this arena that you've been fucking teleported into. There's actually a way out, and the game just doesn't indicate that. There's no indicator saying maybe you want to come back later. What was her name? Started with a V. A vagina chick with the blonde hair never tells you you're not strong enough yet, hero. Mayhap you wish to leave and come back later. So instead I ended up cheesing the fight with the bow that you saw on stream. Right? Second part of the fight, the problem with the game. The bosses. Ivalis, yes. I can't remember her name. Doesn't matter. The second problem with the game is because of the way the game is structured, the game encourages you to cheese enemies, not fight enemies, right? It's encouraging you to not fight them the way they were intended, because the boss has all these amazing quick time abilities, and you're left animation locked for like a full fucking second trying not to die. So you have to cheese enemies, and if you're playing a melee class, good fucking luck with that shit. What's cheese an enemy? It's when you use some bullshit tactic that wasn't intended by the game. So like with the bow on the ranger, you just outrange the enemy, you wait until the AI gets confused because you're not within range for it to be detected, and then you just hit it from afar a few times. I can show you clips of this shit. I'll show you clips here. Let me show you. I went through the trials, and I was cheesing the shit out of the trials multiple times, purely because it was that bad. This boss. You see this boss? If you get far enough out of range with the bow, watch what happens to this boss. Watch what's gonna happen to him. So everything's fine, right? Everything's working the way it should. The boss will get to a point where he just fucking stands there. Right there, you see that? Just stands there doing nothing for a good 2 seconds. Right there, you see that? Doing nothing. Not attacking, not setting up an ability, just standing there because the fucking AI is that dog shit. The cheese makes the game unfun and the boss is boring. But when the bosses are not being cheesed, they feel like bullshit fights. Next complaint. There's a wide variability in combat feel depending on your weapon choice. Right? Weapons are not balanced. Hands down, the ranger, the best weapon, hands down, especially once you get the vines that hit the ground and stagger every single boss. Hands down, the best weapon is the crossbow. Before you get the vine ability on the crossbow is almost unfucking usable on any boss that uses AoE. So you're defaulting to the bow fucking sucks, but it's the only thing that's gonna get you out of range of anything if you're a ranged player. If you're playing melee, good fucking luck, because you're gonna be animation locked half the fucking time, the enemies are gonna kick your ass, you're not gonna know what the fuck's going on. It's such bullshit. Next thing, game optimization is fucking terrible. It's miserable in Chrono Odyssey. I'm running a 4090. I'm running a 13th gen core, which granted has its problems, but I have downloaded the update that's supposed to, like, you know, make sure it's usable, blah, 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 all of that shit. I set this to the lowest settings, and I was still getting pop-in, I was still getting frame drops, I was still getting like 50-second loading screens. It was really fucking bad. It was super poorly optimized. I tested this on every setting. I spent like maybe 4 hours going through settings, trying to get it to work functionally. It doesn't. So Chrono is just like another UE5 slopfest. Faith, it's worse than that. It's worse than it being another UE5 slopfest, because if it was another UE5 slopfest, it would be better than what it currently is. They've somehow managed to make it even worse. That's my concern. They somehow took all the generalized optimization of Unreal Engine 5 and ripped that out of the fucking engine. That's what concerns me. So, there's a good art direction. Relating to Unreal Engine 5, there's a good art direction. It does have problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but the thematic style is really good. That's what sells the game, is the thematic style. But here's the big problem when it comes to the thematic style. And I should put this caveat here. The trailer sells the art style of the world in the game. The reality of playing the game is nowhere near as good as what you see in the trailer. This to me is deceptive practice. The lock-on feature is objectively dog shit. And I tested this. If you use the lock-on feature and you are a ranged character, it's worse than if you're a melee character. If you use the lock-on feature and you are against an AI and a mob of any kind and it starts lightly strafing to the side, the lock-on feature is so bad that your crosshairs are not actually over the lock-on feature, and if you fire off an auto attack, guess what? The auto attack doesn't actually hit the enemy. It misses. And this is not like the enemy is like running across the screen. This is mild strafing. So the lock-on feature is dog shit. Yes, you've got a lock-on feature that actually misses, especially if you're a ranged character. It's not so bad if you're melee, because when you're melee, you're right up against the enemy. Is dull and gray considered to be an art direction these days? XR40, that is the beginning of the game, before you hit until you hit clock and ball torture. And then it gets better. Also, something I noticed on reviewing footage that I wanted you to see.
Grab your arms.
This is also what I mean when I say that the game is poorly optimized, because it wants to default to a smaller window regardless of what you do. Here we go. I want you to look at this. I want you to tell me what's wrong with this image. I didn't catch this when I was first playing it on stream. What's wrong with this fucking image? Do you see it? Is it just me, or do you see it as well? What kind of fucking Gary's Mod ass fucking arm extension is this? And then look at the fucking thumb. Look at the fucking thumb. What is this person, like a fucking thumb wrestler? What the fuck is this bullshit? What is this shit? Look at it. Look at this and tell me this is a polished experience. This is literally like, you know those old Team Fortress 2 videos where like the faces like morph and shit? And like the limbs extend? This is like those old TF2 videos that you'd find on YouTube. Like, what the fuck is this shit? I look back at this and I half expected fucking Scout to run across the screen with like, you know, extended legs or some shit. How bad is that? It's so bad. I never noticed this the first time, but I was reviewing footage and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? The character creator is what should be considered the baseline. Now, the one good thing I can say about the game is the character creator. The character creator is good. However, at no point in time should we be considering this. And I feel like we need to fix this as people who play MMORPGs. We need to stop thinking that this character creator is good. This kind of character creator should be the average. It should be the standard. It should be the bare minimum that a fucking gaming studio can do. Every single MMORPG should, at bare minimum, be able to do the character creator that you see in Thing. And unfortunately for anyone who's not paying attention, do you know what that character creator looks like? A variation on the Ashes of Creation character creator, which tells me there is some form of standardized copy-paste mechanic inside of Unreal Engine 5 that allows people to do this shit. Now, that concerns me, that was the best part of the game. I should call her. Everything you see, Barrow, is just reminding you of her, huh? It's very similar. And what that tells me is that is not a feature of their ability as game devs. That's a feature of what's happening inside of Unreal Engine 5. Then there's the thing you were all bitching about. The janky and inconsistent character movement. I think that was the most obvious, right? And you know what the funny part is about how janky the character creator was? And I'll show you why. This is like borderline retarded. Let me see if I can... When you get out of the base story, what does it make you do? It makes you climb through a cave with a bunch of rocks and shit and makes you observe how fucking shitty it is. It tells you how shit it is in the first 5 seconds of the game. How bad is that? How dog shit is that? How did they get away with this? Next thing, obviously, sloppy character animations. Movement is bad. There's weird inertia on your characters. When you put in an input, let's say you press X to go prone, right? It takes your character like a good half a second to go prone instead of diving into a prone state. Then when you stand up, your character takes like a whole fucking second to stand the fuck back up. Honeymoon phase over. It was never there to begin with, right? I just saw a few things I liked, and those things still stand. But this is me complaining about it now, because this is the beta. This is the time to bitch about it so that they fix these fucking things. The ping, nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, Cyro, the ping doesn't have anything to do with it. And I double-checked this. I double-checked this with people who are playing on 25 ping. I was watching a bunch of other streamers. I was double-checking this information. It's not just me. It's not just me. It's the actual character movement is dog shit. There are missing visuals in the game. I'm going to show you another fight from the trials. This dragon. Halfway through my fight with them, they start breathing invisible fire. How the fuck am I supposed to know what to dodge if half the time the flamethrower ability is invisible fucking fire? Weird control placement for keys. Shift traditionally has always been sprint. In this game, it's not. You have to rebind keys to figure the shit out. It's also really weird trying to figure out the control keys, the controller keys. Bad placement for that. Stamina bar consumption, even out of combat. This is not something I noticed until yesterday. I was playing this game, and I was sprinting, trying to get to the quest marker. And every now and then my character would stop sprinting. I wasn't in combat, I hadn't aggroed anything, and that's when I realized the stamina bar drains even when you're not in combat, which I think that's just lazy programming. That's just fucking pathetic. It's really annoying, it's stupid, it's inefficient, it's lazy, and I'm willing to bet that there's going to be a pay for convenience cash shop that takes that feature away. The interact key. Pressing E doesn't work half the fucking time. And you know why this is such a bitch? There's a fight in the trials where you have to solo fight a boss. Right? There's a boss. Let me see if I can find him. There he is. He summons a pool of lava. Right? On this base ground. You have to hop onto the edge and find the red orb that you have to extinguish. While he's chasing after you, you have to find this fucking orb and hit the interact key. Do you know what the problem with that is? You hit the interact key, and if you're lucky, on a gambler's chance, the interact key works on like the second or third try. The fucking boss is chasing after you. You track him to the other side of the arena, you get him to like flail about, you come back this side, and you start spamming the interact key, praying to sweet baby Jesus that the interact key actually works so that you can fucking play the game and so that you can get rid of the lava. So you see there, he was on the other side of the map, I was spamming that fucking thing like a motherfucker, praying to sweet baby Jesus, hoping I was gonna get that off. And luckily I did. I figured out how to do the timings on this. My god, it was so fucking bad. Look how flat everything. Guild Wars 2 did it better 12 years ago. Guild Wars 1 did it better 20 years ago. Fucking Command & Conquer Renegades did it better like 500 years ago. Meanwhile, Warframe removed their stamina bar when they realized their game would be better without a stamina bar and turned all stamina-related mods into movement-enhancing mods, added more move mods, and later added a dedicated move mod slot and reclassified those move mods to fit. Yeah, you know what? I've got another complaint that actually needs to go in here that I didn't write down. The purple bar needs to fuck off. Thank you for pointing that out for me, Super. If you don't know what the purple bar is, you see this little bar here. Just let me wait until this thing disappears, this thing fades. You see this purple bar here at the bottom of the screen. This purple bar counts for both your auto attacks and your abilities. Every time you use an ability or an auto attack, your purple bar drains. If your purple bar is completely fucking empty, you best hope that you can switch to another weapon and you've got the passive ability that regens some of that stamina. Or you're going to sit there like a dumbass running around the arena for a good minute or two waiting for this fucking bar to regen so you can play the goddamn game again. This is the dumbest fucking bar I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck do you mean I can't auto attack? What the fuck do you mean my ranger character, who's supposed to be super skilled with fucking crossbows, doesn't have the energy to do this with a crossbow? This makes combat worse. This piece of shit right here makes combat so much worse. No one should be looking at this bar. This bar needs to fuck right off. It's miserable. It makes the game worse, it makes combat worse, it makes the game shitty, and it forces you to do nothing for like a solid 30 seconds while you wait for that to regen so you can fight the boss again, or fight whatever enemy you're dealing with again. Horrific performance optimization. This again, another issue with the game. Frame drops, screen tearing, shitty visuals. I tried my best to fix my monitor to not deal with ghosting. Every other game doesn't ghost, this game does. There's a bunch of filler dialogue that tries to make you care about the lore that you've got no reason to give a fuck about. This game's lore is shit. Like the game gives you zero reason to care about it. Now maybe if there was voice acting, it would give you a better reason to care, but most of it is filler words. It doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't inform you about the world. It doesn't make the experience immerse you in the world around you. All you're doing is clicking through random dialogue boxes trying to figure out what the fuck you have to do next. I spent a good minute reading fucking text from one of the drunkards in town telling me how to fight a spider. How to find a spider to fight for a cooking quest. All I needed was go here and kill this thing. Get its legs and turn it into food. But he spent like a good fucking 3 boxes of text telling me nothing. The game doesn't tell you how the game functions for the average player. Now, here, this is an MMO problem. This one right here. For those who don't know, if you're an MMO player, a lot of the time we've been Stockholm syndrome into believing that if a game is dog shit and you figure out its systems and someone else doesn't figure out its systems, that means everyone else is stupid and the game doesn't have a problem. But if the game doesn't indicate to the average player how things function, at least at some base level that they can then build on top of, you have a dog shit game. Just because you're a god gamer doesn't make the game good. It means you have a dog shit game. You're supposed to be able to build on top of something. It took me a good 4 hours to realize that I was fighting one of those open world dragons wrong off stream because the game never indicated to me this is how the bow works. This is how you should be using the crossbow. You cannot jump over a dragon, despite the fact that your character, when they're doing the leap ability with the crossbow, clears the fucking dragon like it's no problem. The game, half of the systems, never tells you how to figure this shit out. And it never gives you a reason to figure it out. And a bunch of people out there are going to suck themselves off because they figured it out by themselves. And congratulations, good for you, you're a god gamer, but guess what, you're not the average. You're not the average person. You're not the person who's playing an MMORPG for the first time. You're not the person who's like a fucking 17-year-old who was like, you know what, I'm tired of COD and FIFA, I'm going to try a different game series. Let me try this MMO Chrono Odyssey. They have that experience and then they think, fuck the entire MMORPG genre. I'm not going to do that. On top of that, again with the movement, there are invisible walls you have to deal with when it comes to the dragon. Yes, XR. You cannot vault over the dragon. You can only vault sideways and backwards. Guess what? You vault sideways and the tracking on the dragon, especially when it's doing the fire breath, means it's still going to hit you. The hitboxes on the fire breath are bigger than what it tells you it is in-game based on the visual cues. So Chrono is going to be dead in 3 months. That's an optimistic timeline, Faith. I think it'll be dead in less than a month. If the game is released in the current state it is, it's going to be dead in a month. Next. Standardized leveling with very little variability leading to less build customization. Did you notice, for anyone who played the beta, when you leveled up, you didn't get to choose your stats? Did you notice you were forced into certain stat positions? How many of you found the permanent stat increasing potions in the game? Because I did. Did the game tell me that that's what I should be looking for? Absolutely not. Did the game simplify the system the way Guild Wars 2 does, where it doesn't tell you about all these stat increases that waste your time because you're going to get them anyway because you leveled up, but it gives you another reason to level your character. Every single level you get in Guild Wars 2, in World of Warcraft, in fucking Rift, in Ion, in fucking Wildstar, any MMORPG you play, you gain a level, and generally speaking, except maybe the beginner levels, you feel like you got something out of the experience. You don't get that in Chrono Odyssey. You get that at level 10, you get that at level 15, you get that like within 5 level brackets, and so I don't know why it's informing me of my stat increases the whole time. You know that the build you're playing is over a year old and is not even close to what they have changed. So basically you got played over to try a game that isn't even the real game. If that's true, Zach, that makes me think that the Chrono Odyssey devs are even more deceptive than before. Because why the fuck would they make us play the dog shit build instead of the better build? That's even more concerning. If they had so much of a better build, why didn't we play that? Now I'm aware, Zach, I'm aware that they posted that on their Twitter. I'm aware that he did. I'm 100% aware. But are we going to base a game on what we experienced firsthand? Or are we going to base the game on what some guy fucking tweeted? Now, if it does so happen that that is true, and they release a build that is infinitely better, if that is way fucking better, and they release that build, and we actually get to play that build, I am happy to change my opinion. But I can only base my opinions on what I saw, what I played, and what I experienced. And I think it would be a fool's game to believe that the CEO doesn't have an ulterior motive in saying what he did. Also, the updated build has to be infinitely better than what we experienced. Way fucking better. Like, you cannot believe how much better it has to be. So if he's saying that, he better back that shit up. Because the onus is not on me. The onus is on him. You don't have to convince me it's shit, and I'm almost sure the next build is shit. I know that, right? But I'm actually really glad. I'm actually really thankful you pointed that out, because I was going to get to this at the end. But I 100% think that I don't believe him. I don't trust him with that. So I'm actually really thankful that you brought that up. Next part of this. Combat animation locking feels really bad. There's no interrupting your own movement. What do I mean by this? If you animation lock, there's two big problems I see with the animation lock. But every now and then you'll animation lock on something, and your fucking character does a 360 for no fucking reason whatsoever. The second part of that is if you animation lock, you fight the boss, you use an ability. If you are, let's say you are locked in a channeled ability, if you start spamming the dodge button, guess what? Your character doesn't interrupt their own ability and dodge out the fucking way. They stand there like a retard and take the punishment. They take it to the face like the best porn star in the world would. You cannot self-interrupt your abilities to get out of it. Now, World of Warcraft allows you to self-interrupt. Guild Wars 2 allows you to self-interrupt. Fuck it, I think even Ashes of Creation allows you to self-interrupt. But you cannot get out of a lock-channeled ability. If you have started an ability, you're gonna finish that fucking ability. That's how that works. This is like dinner with your dad where you refuse to eat your vegetables. You're not getting up from the fucking table until that broccoli is gone. It doesn't matter that, you know, your older or younger brother rubbed it on his ball sack before it went on your plate and you saw it. It's going in your mouth and down your throat. So you cannot self-interrupt, which is fucking miserable. Some of the visuals and ambience is blinding and not additive to the experience. Now, remember when I talked about the fact that the art style is pretty interesting? It's good and unique. I want to show you this boss fight. Watch what happens to the visuals of this clip when you run here. How easy do you think it is to start spotting enemies when there's the yellow fucking Instagram sepia filter over everything? How easy do you think it is to know what the fuck is going on with this yellow film of bullshit over everything? So you start the fight, you initiate the fight here. Suddenly, a bunch of enemies start coming at you. Oh, wait, this is once the fight's ended. Sorry, that was me looting afterwards. This fight, how easy do you think this fight is when you're fighting fucking shadows you can barely see as you're trying to move at high speed because there's like 50 fucking enemies coming at you? Holy shit, the Mexico filter. No, Mexico's cleaner than this bullshit. Just look how difficult this is to try and figure out what the fuck is going on. This is an action combat game. The way you avoid getting hit is by seeing the telegraphed moves that are coming at you. How the fuck are you supposed to see the telegraphed moves if everything is like a shadow in the background that's being blocked by the yellow sepia filter and you can't tell body parts apart? You don't know what's coming for you. All you know is if something gets close to me, I need to get the fuck away from it. Now imagine doing this. Imagine doing this as a melee build. Imagine trying to stand there and tank that shit, or dodge out of the way of that many enemies as a melee build. How easy do you think that is if you played a barbarian instead of a ranger? What do you rate your chances of survival as in a fair fight, thinking this is fair? It makes the game fucking horrible. I can't even see my own character. I don't even know where my own fucking hitbox is half the time in this fight. I'm just praying to sweet baby Jesus that whenever I see a yellow health bar approach me, that I can run for my fucking life. This shit was a nightmare. This felt like such bullshit, and I was getting angry for a character I wasn't even playing. A melee build in this place? Your average player? Fucking screwed. They're fucking out of it screwed, right? Then there's the boss jank. I spoke about this already. Some of the bosses are overtuned as fuck, and others just stop working. Then there's bosses like this. Let me see if I can find it. There's bosses like this. Now, if you're a ranged build, this thing's not a threat at all. I killed this on the second try. And do you know what happened on the first try? I didn't die. The boss de-fucking aggroed. The boss got so bored of fighting me for so long that it left. It went back home. Look at this. Like, I'm in no danger, ever, with this fight. The only reason I've taken damage at all is because I literally walked into a poison puddle on the ground. Unreal Engine 5 has been the bane of modern games. It absolutely has. It fucking absolutely has. Now, what's really funny is this could have been a super interesting, fun fight where you have to deal with melee and ranged, and it could spit poison at you and telegraph its moves. Nah. If you're melee, this is a fight. If you're ranged, it's not a fight. It's a fucking... It's a waiting queue. It's you just waiting around until you have your purple vigor bar back up so you can do something about problems. Fucking, this is lazy design. Literal lazy fucking boss design. Some are so janky and some just feel like bullshit. Then there's the ability balancing. Balancing between normal mobs and bosses is fucking terrible. It's miserable. And I'll tell you why. Let me see if I can find a clip of it. Again, let's go back to the Hellfire boss. You'll notice my 3 ability on the bar here. This ability, for anyone using crossbows in this fight, is mandatory. Because this is an almost automatic knockdown button for the boss. It's super important to have that ability. It's such a bullshit ability that it invalidates every other ability that the crossbow has in a boss fight. And I'll show you what I mean. So, you see it does ticking damage. That's his CC bar. It does a massive amount of ticking damage, and he's going to get knocked down in 0 time at all. I did no other ability except summon the fucking... the beast that barely works, knocked down. This allows you to cheese the shit out of enemies. But guess what? Those same abilities feel like horse shit when you're playing against normal mobs because they barely do anything. I don't hate Chrono Odyssey, Sniper. I'm complaining about all the problems about Chrono Odyssey in hopes that someone will listen and they will fix them. We're going to go through other people's videos, but I'm going through my opinion first so that I'm not going to be accused of, like, you know, just being, like, hopping on the bandwagon and being like, yeah, bro, yeah, true, bro. Like, you know, like, I'm just kidnapping someone else's opinion. These are the things I feel they need to fix in this game if they want to stand a chance at surviving more than a month upon release of this game. Crafting feels incomplete and doesn't fully teach you how to do things. Not a single thing in crafting. Not the cooking, not the blacksmithing, not the processing of materials. None of that feels integrated into the world. Next problem. Combat has soft locking on targets. This fucks up the idea of free movement. It doesn't matter whether you're locked on or not. If you try and auto-attack, you have a soft lock. Next thing, positioning deaths feel like bullshit, both because of camera angle and also the way the design of the game is. Hellfire's Reckoning boss in the Trials. Now there's a specific death I want to go through that felt like the biggest pile of horse shit imaginable. Do you see how there's a ring around you? You can actually fall outside the ring, right? And if you accidentally fall outside the ring, like this, you're fucked. Do you see that? So, let me play that again for you. I'm fighting the boss, everything's going fine, I hop onto the edge of the ring. Right? What I didn't know about this game is that when you fire off an ability, every ability you fire off moves your character backwards by a small amount. So, dodging out the way, running around the arena, I think, okay, let me stagger the boss so that I have all the time in the world to go and extinguish that fucking fire, right? Okay, he set the fire up. My ability knocks me backwards. It bumps me off the back. Did I move backwards? Absolutely fucking not. I hit an ability, and my character decided to fly backwards. Now guess what? I can't climb this ledge because they didn't think about this. You can't get back up. This is just, you're dead now. Fuck you. I cannot climb back up. I was jumping that entire time. You can't climb back up. You're fucked. So that feels so like environmental deaths feel like bullshit half the time because of the janky ass fucking interactions and the collisions with the world around you. Next thing, the game gives you baseline, it gives you no, this should be no. I don't know why I wrote no. No clue what stats to look for and just expects you to know. See these stats on the side of the screen? It doesn't tell you what you should be aiming for, generally speaking, as a ranger. It doesn't tell you what you should be speaking or what you should be using as a fucking berserker. It doesn't tell you shit. It doesn't tell you a fucking thing. It gives no guidance and no hand-holding. And unfortunately, I do like games that don't do a lot of hand-holding. But generally speaking, your average MMO player or someone who's coming into a new game wants a baseline to work off of and then wants to expand out from that baseline and broaden their knowledge base. The fact that this game just gives you a million stats and gives you no fucking reason to care about any single one of them makes it a shitty experience, especially for someone who's never played MMOs. Someone like me, I'll cope with that. But think about the new player. Think about the average person who's playing, this is like their second MMO they've ever played. They're gonna look at this like, what the fuck do I care about? None of these abilities give you any reason to care about them. And the game tells you nothing about that. Also, stats are linked to a baseline stat. So that's things like stamina reduction, which means why don't you just give me the baseline stat? Why go through this contrived narrative of giving me extra stats that just link to other stats? Why not just give me the base stat? Why not reduce that complexity for no fucking reason at all? This one pissed me off. On a personal level. I went through my stream and I had 7 different copyright claims on the music playing in the background. The in-game music of Chrono Odyssey is outsourced to someone else. These guys do not own the copyright. They do not own the music of their own fucking game. And that means no one on YouTube wants to play this game. No one on Twitch is going to want to play this game. No one is going to want to touch this game for fear of getting copyright struck. They don't even own their own fucking music. They don't own the license to it. It was after my play session that I then went onto Twitter. And it turns out it's not just me. I thought maybe it was a bot at first. Chrono Odyssey used third-party music, and that is unfortunate for creators. That means no one's going to want to play this fucking game. Chrono Odyssey. Are you really using music that's licensed is held by third parties for in-game music? Did you not secure rights for content creators to stream the game? Or are these individuals that are taking advantage? Nope. It's not individuals. It's not individuals because it's happening to everyone. And then my final lore nerd problem with this game. There are no strong lore tie-ins. The game tries to make you feel like you're part of this world, but it just throws you in the deep end with no reason to care. It doesn't tell you why you should care. I'd play Chrono Odyssey if it was free to play. If it isn't, I'll only play if they hit 100,000 player counts, otherwise dead on arrival. I agree, Benji. I agree. If you are making the business decision of this is your income, this is what you do for a living, you're a streamer, you're a YouTuber, you're making videos and tutorials and shit for this video, for this game. If it doesn't have the capacity to keep people in this game, then there's no fucking reason for you to ever touch this shit. Unless it's free to play and you do it in your spare time. Okay, with that all said, with me being incredibly disappointed with the showing that Chrono Odyssey has given us so far, What I want to make clear is that I don't hate the game. I am disappointed by its performance. I'm saddened by what they showed off to us. They had so many fucking problems. And unfortunately, just like New World, they have the correct fundamentals, but they have none of the execution down. Now, if I had never played New World, I might be bright and doughy-eyed enough to say that I believe that they can fix all these problems before launch, that I'm going to believe in the devs, that I think they can do it, that they've got the right bones in this game to make it something good later. But after what I saw New World do, after the royal fuckery that I saw New World pull off, I don't see this working out. And worse than that, I think comparing this game to New World is a mistake. Because people are looking at New World and saying that this game is worse than New World. But I think that, honestly, that makes people forget what happened at the launch of New World. People forget the client-side authority. People forget the bugs. People forget the janky hitboxes. People forget the rubber banding issues that were all over the place. People forget all the duping that happened. People forget the mismanaged game. People forget how many duplicated settlements there were all over the fucking place. People forget all of that. And all of a sudden people start thinking that New World is a good game by comparison. And it's not. This game doesn't make New World look better. It just makes Chrono Odyssey look bad. And the comparison I want people to draw is not to New World. I want people to draw the comparison to a Souls-like game. Because that's what New World tried to pull on too. And the big problem that you see here, that you also see in New World, is that the way that Dark Souls works, the way that Elden Ring works, the way that Demon Souls works, the way that fucking even Bloodborne from the gameplay I've seen works, is all the complexity of the game is on the back end, and all the simplicity is on the front end. How many abilities do you really get when you equip a weapon in Dark Souls? You get attack, you get heavy attack. You get two-handing a weapon, and again you get attack, you get heavy attack. Outside of that, you've got strong movement, you've got parrying, and you've got dodging. But look at any one of those systems in Dark Souls. Your light attack works as a faster attack that does less damage. Your heavy attack does more damage. It affects the poise of a character, can knock down characters after you, get an invisible bar down, you can chop off enemy limbs, you can change the environments, you can do a bunch of shit. You can parry, you can stagger. Looking at PvP combat, there's a grit system, there's a movement system. All of that back-end complexity is something a player doesn't have to think about because they experience it as they play the game from a very simplistic standpoint. The problem with Chrono Odyssey is it's taken none of the nuance of that combat, and it's just shit out all the complexity into the player's face, and now they have to try and figure it out firsthand instead of secondhand intuitively. And that needs to be changed around. If they are so desperate to make a Souls-like MMO, then they need to look at how Dark Souls did their fucking game and emulate that.